Call the meeting to order. For those who care to, please rise for an opening prayer and a salute to the flag. If you would, bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the time we get to spend together. Thank you for leading, guiding, directing the city. Thank you for the people that take time out of their days and their weeks to represent the citizens of this community. Bless us as we go throughout this week. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Quite a few items tonight on mayor's appointments, announcements, and vote. Marty Casagrande, who's not here, will celebrate the birthday tomorrow, so feel free to harass him when he gets back. Hopefully he'll be watching this online, so we can harass him all you want. And let's see, Municipal Offers Training Workshop. If any of you council members would like to attend, please let Brenda know. That flyer is in your red folder if you'd like to attend that. On to appointments. I'd like to reappoint Denny Robbins to the Capital Improvements Committee. Council so chooses. Need a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Also like to reappoint Bonnie Williams to the Capital Improvements Committee as council so chooses. Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. I'd also like to reappoint Councilmember Gary Wilson to the Capital Improvement Committee.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no. Any abstentions? Me. Mr. Wilson, welcome back. 601. I'd like to reappoint Judy Ankrum to the Housing Authority for a 2-year term.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Also like to reappoint Dorothy Craig to the Housing Authority for a 3-year term.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Nothing on public hearing. I would like to open it up now to citizen participation. Anyone wishing to speak to anything not on the agenda, please step forward, state your name, sign in, give us your best 3 minutes. Seeing none, citizen participation closed. Need a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. On the financial report, Laura, welcome. Give us an overview, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This brings good news, of course, with this report every time I come up here. So, the general sales tax, we are still seeing an increase over the prior year, except with the exception of 2007. So, in the more recent prior years, we are up 3% compared to last year at this time. We are at 43% of the annual budget for 2012, with 42% of the year having are under our belts, at least I should say. The motor fuel tax has continued to increase. We are at 57% over the prior year, with having met 74% of our budget. With the motor fuel tax, we have accounted for half of the year, and so that is substantially ahead of where we could be and should be with the budget. So if there's any questions?
Questions, comments, discussion? For Laura? Anything at all? Seeing none, need a motion to approve financial report.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything from you, Mr. Derrickson? No? All right. Move on to presentation of schematic designs by SAP Design Associate Architects, the amphitheater and Republic's Veterans Memorial. You're wanting us to move, I take it, Jared?
Whatever you choose there, sir.
You don't mind if I sit right here then?
Too short.
I like it, that's a jump.
Mayor Pro Tem, that's what's right. I think you, pointed to mark this gavel. Let's get that straight right now. Somebody nominated me from this group.
We have our own inside joke here, Mayor.
Apparently we're on the outside. Probably that. Yeah, we did.
Eric McCune from Staff Design Associates and Michael Hampton. For about 6 weeks or so, we've been working on the schematic design process of the amphitheater and the Republic Veterans Memorial. They are here tonight to present a couple of things we've been looking at and a couple of options.
Thanks for having us again. Last time we were here, we showed you some ideas that we had for the amphitheater portion of the site. This is the site, and it is an old enough photograph that you guys have actually demoed some of the drive as part of, up to the parking lot in the center, just south of the tennis courts. My orientation is correct. And you can see where the pool area is, that we had talked about that being the area for the amphitheater. If you want to go to the next one, kind of closed in. Part of the project that you tasked us with doing is the demolition of that pool area and to incorporate the amphitheater, and to in talking with Jared, what we're doing is to master plan the entire site, however approach the project in a series of phased construction projects. So we'll talk about that as we go through. What we were tasked with doing in this presentation was also to incorporate the Veterans Memorial and incorporate that into part of the project as well. So what we did is looked at some ideas and how to incorporate that from the existing parking lot with the amphitheater design, kind of melding those two together.
We're going to go through a couple images here that are just essentially this is, you know, kind of a bird's eye view of the layout, and we'll flip through a couple images that take you in closer and show you some more more detail as you would see it if you were walking through the site. So this is a closer up view of the Veterans Memorial. Again, this is something that we have worked with Jared for a while on, as far as just the Veterans Memorial itself, and this is including it as part of the amphitheater site. Coming off the parking lot that's existing there, people would enter into the amphitheater itself by walking through the Veterans Memorial.
I think one of the things, if you can go to the previous slide, some of the overall concepts that we have for the site, as you can see the existing pool building. If you can kind of point to that.
This is the existing pool building.
And then you can see where we've incorporated the Veterans Memorial. And what we were talking about is coming from the existing parking lot, walking past the Veterans Memorial. And what we're trying to do, or what we're suggesting at this point, is we really don't have a program for the pool house itself at this point, but we felt that if we mothballed it, essentially, if we were to we have two options. We can do a little bit of upgrade to it so that no further damage happens to it, or we also have a slide image of where, if we wanted to and we don't have a good program element for it, we can take it down and make it part of the demolition project at this point. But what we're trying to do is show that it could create a backdrop for the memorial. Also, at the back side of the amphitheater, What we did is to create an earth berm that would help protect the amphitheater from the parking lot. If there are headlights or just general parking noise, in that area, it creates different landscape opportunities in that area, and we'll show a couple more slides.
Here's the berm, kinda shows, it's hard to see here, but it's built up kind of ground.
Then you can see the amphitheater itself, and then what we're considering a stage structure. And then beyond that, you can see a drive and a circle drive. That's the existing drive that what we're suggesting is that we would close that off at the street most of the time, but if we ever needed access into that park or into the stage area, it would be available as a kind of service drive to get to those points.
Another thing we're also talking about is this, if you guys have been out there recently, you know, it's kind of a free-for-all parking. And part of where we've priced out, a couple things, or cost estimated, a couple things is kind of restriping this parking lot, adding a drop-off lane so people coming and dropping people off here, makes it easier for the cars and the traffic. And then also, again, we're not showing it here, but this is part of the overall master plan is the, drive-in and drive-out lanes there at the street.
You can also see that the semicircular drive in front of the pool house, we're suggesting that it be removed because that isn't what we would consider the front of the building anymore. It really would not have any functional use at that point.
So,
Then this is the Veterans Memorial. It's a little bit of a variation of what you've probably seen as an image before, but again, it's different only because of the siding that we're creating.
Where do the bricks go that people have purchased for the Veterans Memorial?
That will be, they may make up the walkways on each side of the, water features there, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
The way that we would probably do that is to set up a concrete framework that a certain number of bricks could fit in, and that with an area of either concrete or brick pavers that you can pull up as you gained enough, you know, maybe annually you can put in the number of bricks that you had purchased.
Thank you.
another important thing I think to point out here in this slide is that we're showing as part of kind of the revamping of this building, if we choose to do that with the pool house, is slapping, you know, a graphic, I believe you guys have titled it the AMP. So, you know, taking that graphic, large paint, you know, is cheap, but it also looks good and becomes kind of a billboard for the building. Same with some striping on the building, it just kind of jazzes it up. And then we've also placed an entrance sign on a few of these berm areas that just kind of point out, you know, it creates signage for the amphitheater itself.
So it's not that that building couldn't function for concessions or additional storage, things like that. We may not have the budget to do all of that work at this time, but what we think we want to do is probably do a few improvements to it so that it does look integrated in as part of the project, and it could be nothing more than storage at this point for Parks and Rec or for whomever needs that storage space within the city until such time as we can do more with it than what it is now.
And these are also the berms in the background, just kind of show you at the parking lot level that's blocking the stage.
And you can see on the right-hand side of the page, there's a long axis that runs along the tennis courts, and what we're trying to do is create sort of an esplanade along that edge that would then connect down into the other parking lot that is in the park that would be at the restrooms, where the current restrooms are. That would be an additional pavilion and restroom structure that is the old one's being demoed and the new one's being here. So it would give a pathway for those at the amphitheater to get to the restrooms. And we thought it was important to keep the restrooms centered in the park so that it was more functional to everyone in the park, not just at the amphitheater.
Again, this kind of shows you the slope of the amphitheater. Again, the demoing the pool gives us just a perfect possibility for this amphitheater because it's already somewhat sloped, the land itself. So you can kind of see the undulation towards and this is the stage area back here with the pool house in the background. Another thing we've talked about, I don't know if we've said it tonight, is putting a new roof on the pool house would completely, give it another facelift to the building and make it look a lot nicer.
This is further down at those restroom facilities. You can see the esplanade I was talking about between the tennis courts and the restroom and the amphitheater itself. This is at the back of the amphitheater, right at the earth berm. You can see it on the right, just as you're clearing the memorial, the old pool house building. This is at the back of the amphitheater. And you can see what we're envisioning as the stage and the accessory buildings. The first one of the structure on the right is likely to be necessary in the earlier part of the construction, because that is where the electrical service is within the park. So we would have to create a simple structure there. And what we were looking at is, in a phased construction, being able to construct another pavilion on the other side, framing the stage that would allow storage for various pieces of equipment that we might need on the stage, lights, things of that sort. Again, coming from the parking lot to the Veterans Memorial.
And this is what we're just calling an alternate scheme. We have essentially taken off the pool house building, so if that's the direction we need to go, removing the pool house, you essentially can still have some of the same programmatic elements with a flat area right here where the pool house used to be, which could also serve as kind of overflow space.
And there'd be the possibility, again, we've shown it just as a flat area. That could be a building area for a new structure in the future. We could, at least on a temporary basis, put another earth berm that would protect the road noise from the amphitheater. Any number of things that we can do there if there's any strong feelings about either saving or not saving the existing pool house. And then we've gone through and created kind of a phasing budget for it. Phase 1 is 1A and 1B is to the site clearing of the pool itself, demo of the decking and the fencing areas. Then the work going back in is creating the asphalt drop-off area, the sidewalks, the concrete seats in the amphitheater area, and then reorganizing the parking lot. As a separate number, the Veterans Memorial, in the neighborhood of 50 to 65, and that is because of some current pricing that we're getting on a water feature that is there, included as part of that. Just the water feature is probably going to be about $25,000 that we would have to incorporate and maintain. That's the other advantage of possibly keeping the pool house, is some of the mechanical equipment that would be required for that could be located in that, or we could locate it in a vault in the ground next to it, one or the other. Phase 2 of the project then goes into some additional landscaping, the restroom buildings. Phase 3 then gets into the renovation of the pool house, the additional, possibly turning it into a concessions building, and the second stage pavilion. So I think, again, understanding that some of the budget constraints and that we need to phase it, I think that we're getting probably in the comfortable range to where we can set that up, knowing what your budgets are. We would certainly set up phases to where we would have a series of alternates to try and ensure that we can build something on day 1. And if we can't afford all of what we call as phase 1, then that would just have to get shifted into phase 2 of the project. But we do understand what the budget constraints are for that. Hopefully we can, once we get started on some of it, we can build some momentum that we can get some more funding for the other parts of it. questions? Yes,
What's the approximate length and width of the water feature, do you know, off the top of your head? Kinda hard to get an idea of how large that veterans.
I would say it's somewhere around 10 by 30, 10 by 20, 10 by 30.
Okay.
and it's really not the size that starts to, I guess, cause the cost, it's the pumps and the motors and the electrical and things like that that you need to try and keep it filtering and not becoming.
And obviously with a water feature, you start to have a lot of maintenance issues, that, by yearly, you've gotta come out and winterize it or de-winterize it, things like that. We've thrown around a couple different options, but, that's probably later down the road.
Mr. Hart, go ahead.
You have contacted people with the Veterans Memorial and then asked them what their input was on that, or?
We've actually been going through Jared.
You've contacted the people that are spearheading the Veterans Memorial?
They were
They're okay
responsible
with
for
it?
the initial design.
Okay.
Now when it comes to any cuts that'll have to be made, if we have to make cuts to our budget, we'll have to talk to those people that were involved. Honestly, what we were envisioning for the Veterans Memorial initially was around 30 to 35. Water feature kicked in, and we said all along, though, if we can't develop it all, initially, we just won't be able to do it. But the water feature has really pushed it up quite a bit. And we may have to just scale back on the water feature, if not totally eliminate, although it does have some definitely aesthetic values.
Well, and again, we're at a schematic phase, we obviously understand or know what our budget constraints will be. So as we start to develop, we'll have, just as in that portion of the project, in the phase 1 projects, is we can look at the Veterans Memorial and say, okay, we can't afford all the pumps at this point, but we can get the infrastructure in at this time, as part of that, so.
And also with that, off the Veterans, but on the amphitheater itself, I know she has the two ends, and then it's open in the back, and then the open top. I would think that you would want that all closed while the sound goes out. I mean, this is just schematic, or?
Yeah, it's schematic.
Okay.
And, again, depending on, we haven't really talked to anyone that would be playing, if they're a committee of sorts. We have it open at that point because we thought that there might be an opportunity that it could work both ways, that it could open up to, the other side of the park as well, that the back of that could be a temporary, depending on which side you want to project to, so that it does have a dual-sided feature.
We had originally thought of that the whole way through, for special events such as Having Glass or larger types of events. However, with that being said, we held the band in our pavilion, the other pavilion there this year at Having Glass, and it seemed to work out really well, so we may have to revisit that thinking.
Additional questions, comments, discussions for Eric, Michael, or Jared?
Our goal, as I think everyone knows, is we're gonna, obviously, financial constraints aside, if we get through phase 1, going into next spring, we wanna host somewhere, we already began working on this, somewhere around 12 to 14 events the first year. Whether that be, movies in the park, obviously musical concerts, outdoor plays, outdoor classes, something like that. Schools have expressed interest in using as well. We'll try to work through those discussions and see what they have in mind for it. But definitely think it could be a wonderful asset to our community. It'll be up to us to program it right. So.
Has the housing authority been contacted across the street for sound, just for the simple fact they are the closest?
Certain members have, but we haven't went all the way through them. So I know a lot of the ladies over there, regular visitors to the community center, they are for it. However, they don't want anything late at night and loud. So
that's what I was going to say. We might want to think about some berms or some sort of sound deterrence between that amphitheater and their particular facility across the street.
Leaving the old building might help a little bit with that.
Yes.
No ATVs until 11:30 at night.
Well, Daniel's not there. Any other pertinent questions, comments, discussions for Eric, Michael, or Jared?
Thank
I
you.
think next time we will be back, we'll have the documents complete, a detailed cost estimate, probable cost, and probably be asking to put it out for construction bids.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Charlie, you grab those lines, sir. Thank you. Never mind, Vernon's got it. Thank you, sir. Future community events. I'll read these for Jared since he's busy. Fall adult softball registration through July 27th, pre-registration is required. July 25th is Tyler Music and Art Class, 10 a.m., pre-registration is also required on that one. July 26th, Republic Night, the Springfield Cardinals, 7:08 p.m., rounded, $12 per ticket, includes event t-shirt, deadline for ticket sales has passed, but I'm not quite sure if they have any tickets available. We'll check with Jared when he gets back in. July 27th, Toddler Story Time, 10:30 a.m., that's a free event. Registration is not required, hence the word free for some of you. July 30th is the Wii Dance Class for kids, 2 to 5-year-olds at 10 a.m. and 6 to 8-year-olds at 11 a.m. Pre-registration is required. July 31st, our Arthritis Foundation Exercise Program, 1:30 p.m., free event. August 10th is the second annual Youth Republic Tiger Tribe, 6:45 p.m. at Miller Park. And August 11th is the 6th annual Republic Tiger Triathlon, 7 a.m. at Miller Park. Board commissions and committee reports, Board of Adjustments, August 2nd, Capital Improvements, August 15th, City Council, August 13th and August 27th, Planning and Zoning, August 20th. On to old business, before we get on to old business, Jared, what's the ticket situation on Republic Night Springfield
We
Park?
have some tickets remaining, absolutely.
Have some tickets remaining, okay?
Yeah, limited, but we do have some remaining, so if you guys want to come, that would be great.
Fantastic, so contact Jennifer at the Parks Department for those tickets. There are some still remaining. On to old business and tabled items, bill number, have a motion to have a second reading of bill number 12-46. Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri to establish a procedure for disclosing potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain officials.
Need a motion to have final approval of bill number 12-46.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is six. Since Mr. Christie is not here, Mr. Derrickson can give us a brief overview of that. This is kind of a housekeeping
That's correct,
item.
Mayor. We do this every 2 years, and by adopting this every 2 years, that avoids having to file certain reports with the State Ethics Commission. And it's a fairly routine matter. This is allowed by statute.
Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Derrickson? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Harrelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Poole?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Councilmember Brashear?
Aye.
Councilmember Groom?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Clinkenbeard?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. On the next item, need a motion to have the second reading of bill number 12-47.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, annexing approximately 5.52 acres owned by the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, located southwest of the James River Freeway right-of-way in the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 34, Township 29 North, Range 23 West, and Greene County, Missouri.
Need a motion to have final approval of bill number 12-47.
Motion.
Second. A motion and a second. Welcome, Garrett. Give us an overview, sir.
Thank you. This bill will annex this just a little bit over 5.5 acres that's owned by the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission. The subject property does not have access to a public thoroughfare, a has no access to municipal utilities, and also contains no structures. It is currently compact and contiguous to our existing city limits, being surrounded by what is now the Eclipse PDD. This would have originally been a part of that Eclipse package of annexations that was approved a couple of months ago. However, MoDOT required that we annex this as though it were public right-of-way, which became quite a lengthy process that we're just now getting finished with. So here's the result. This will come into the city as part of the Eclipse PDD.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Tyson? Anything at all? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Clinkenbeard,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Grooms,
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder,
Aye.
Councilmember Poole,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrelson,
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. On the next item, on the new business, need a motion to have the first reading of bill number 12-48.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri enacting regulations on businesses purchasing precious metals, precious or semi-precious stones, and/or jewelry.
Great. Give us an overview, Brenda.
All right. Currently, we do not have anything in our ordinances that regulate the businesses that come in and purchase gold and silver and precious stones. We have a company that is interested in doing that, so we thought that we would go ahead and get some regulations in there to help the police department regulate that in case anybody's trying to sell stolen items, anything like that. So that's what it is.
Questions, comments, discussion for Brenda. Mr. Harder.
Actually, this is Chief. You've read this,
I just read it at the beginning of the meeting. It looks like it's very well done. I was going to get with our Detectives Division Supervisor to see if there was anything else that he could think of that some of the pawn shops have, such as a leads online where they actually enter it rather than waiting for us to go to that business. Because as we continue to grow, there will be future businesses that will probably take this on, and if we're going to be able to respond appropriately to determine if they're being used for illicit criminal activity, it'd be nice to have that asset. So we do appreciate Brenda's initiative on this before getting out in front of it.
Chief's been on vacation. He's kind of still on vacation. He came here tonight for you guys, so just wanted you to know that.
I wanted to show off his tan.
Want to show off his tan?
No, I'm good.
Excuse me, you can't give that away. Other questions, comments, discussion? Mr. Wilson's laughing, so I'm not sure. Mr. Harder, you have another one?
Done.
Well, could,
That's okay.
please
And
continue.
and when you developed this, where did you go to get the information
Fenton, Missouri.
in Missouri?
Other additional questions, comments, discussion? Anything at all? It's first read. If there's questions or comments in between, ask at the next meeting, or contact Chief or Brenda for any clarification. On the next item on the agenda, need a motion to have the first reading of bill number 12-49.
Motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending section 705.130, users outside city limits of Republic.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Derrickson, will you
Well, I
fill
thought,
in Mr. Fischke again?
well, I thought Jim was gonna put David's name on there, but he didn't, so I'll go ahead and try to explain this. We currently have on the books, ordinance 705-130, which says that, anyone who, is outside the city limits and uses city services gets assessed a 50% surcharge. this has partially become an issue because of Lake Shooter Ridge, where we've got several, well, the whole development, between a developer and the property owners have executed written consents to annex pursuant to a developer's agreement that was entered into several years ago when this first developed out there. And the discussion has been, along with dealing with Lake Shooter Ridge, also just this concept in general about when we request that someone do a written consent to annex, we still go ahead and require them to pay the 50% surcharge until such time as we annex them. And we've already, in essence, gotten something from them by getting them to execute the written consent to annex. And this would simply treat those individuals who have executed written consents to annex in a different manner than those we might be providing services for that haven't executed written consent to annex. And by the way they would be treated differently is they would be allowed to have the rate for utilities that current residents have, as opposed to the 50% surcharge. Anyone who was using city services that did not want to execute a consent to annex would pay the surcharge.
Additionally, if you'll make sure you read the section 705.130 right there, the last sentence pretty much sums up sort of the out clause, and that basically says, should a voluntary consent to annex become unenforceable for any reason, the 50% additional surcharge or additional charge shall be applicable again. So therefore, that gives the city an opportunity to make sure that we have our ducks covered. If something does fall through, we can go back and charge that as well if something, a consent to annex, does not make it through the system. Questions, comments, discussion? Wow, okay. Yeah, seems right. This is a first read. If there, Jim will be back to, with some additional information. If you have questions or comments in the meantime, please contact Ron. Otherwise, we'll just go from here. Second reading will come up on the next agenda. Thank you very much. On to other business, resolutions and discussion. Resolution number 12-R3-35, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the replacement of a mechanical grinder at the wastewater treatment plant. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Welcome, Mr. Brock. Give us an overview, sir.
Good evening.
Evening.
At the headworks of the treatment plant, we have a mechanical grinder, pulverizes any solid materials that may come into the treatment plant. This was initially installed with the plant expansion in 2001. We have one unit that does it all. That unit lasted through 2007. In 2007, we suffered a similar breakdown to what we're experiencing today. We swapped out the core unit, got a factory rebuilt. It lasted until about 2 weeks ago. The quote we have from the manufacturer to replace that is just shy of $30,000. Again, this would be a factory rebuilt top to bottom. And we would anticipate it does come with a 1-year warranty, but we anticipate a useful life again of 5 to 7 years. This is a piece of equipment that goes through a pretty severe beating and operates 24 hours a day under very harsh conditions. This is not a specific item that we had budgeted this year. 2012 budget, we had about $63,000 appropriated for treatment plant maintenance. As of the end of June, we had gone through about $27,000 of that. But we would not anticipate that we could take a $30,000 hit and continue to repair items as the year goes on. Do want to note, as Laura had relayed, some of our revenues are up. Our sewer revenue is also up as of the end of June. We were 24% above collections in 2011, 2% above the budget mark for the second quarter. That equates to about $55,000. So what staff is asking is for council to authorize replacing that through the core exchange program. We'll monitor that expense line item as the year goes on. If we're necessary to do a budget amendment as we close in on the fourth quarter, I think revenues are in a shape that we can afford to do that if necessary.
Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Brock? Mr. Harder, please.
The damage incurred, did you do a price study on how much it'd be to rebuild that?
We would be in the $25,000 range if we included our labor. Parts alone, if we ship them in, about $17,000. The downside is, this is not a repair that our staff is used to doing. We would spend a lot of time in muddling through it. I have confidence our guys could find the way to do it, but again, we would have kind of the backyard repairs completed. We have a lot more confidence in a factory rebuilt unit, and particularly when we do have that 1-year warranty that comes along with it.
You've got on here core return. Did they give you any indication what the core return on the damaged piece would be?
That is figured into the $29,000 quote. They split that out in '07, and it was about $4,500 if we returned the core. So we anticipate it's the price tag for this has gone up about 4.5% per year if you compare '07 to 2012. So we would assume the core value is marked along with that.
Say the last 5 years, you go with 5 years. Is it the turnkey operation, just plug and go?
Fairly close. I mean, it does require a crane to lift the unit out, and that is, I mean, this is our staff doing the removal. We crate it up. Shipping is included in that cost, and then we'll install the new unit when it arrives.
You think it would behoove the city to take the next 5 years after, if we purchase this new one, to take the next 5 years and repurpose the old, if you were talking to a 4% increase? Looking at another 5 years to replace it again and have the spares.
We'd have to check and see. I mean, we know we're getting a credit for that return. We could ask them to split that out and see what an additional unit would cost. I think I understand.
Yeah, then you got 5 years to rebuild. You know, you're talking the time frame, you know, you have a spare unit.
The 1-year warranty on the other one would be up long before we had to use it.
But again, you said the last 5 years.
That's been our experience.
Then you got 4 years, still 5 years to rebuild one, have spare. I mean, it's just an idea, try to save some money in the future.
I'm afraid that what you'd end up with is a piece of scrap metal 5 years from now that's never been touched. I mean, human nature, I got 5 years to fix this, I'll get around to it someday.
Your training tool though. Guys too.
No, I think that's David. Maybe that's a reflection
I
of
got
myself.
more faith in David than
You haven't spent much time in my garage, have you? That's a good point, Mr. Harder. Mr. Brock, will you kind of flesh out some of those things for Mr. Harder?
I will do that.
And get back with him on that.
May not be cost effective, would be nice to know.
But it is an option, and just send it to Mr. Harder, copy Jim and myself, that'd be perfect.
Okay.
Mr. Wilson, please.
I got a question. It says that the deal failed because the seals failed. How hard would it be to, say, every 2 or 3 years just to replace the seals?
That is, a part of the PM is to pull the unit out and check the seals, that they're still flexible, still in place, and I'd have to inquire if there's a repair kit, but I think that's a good idea. Trying to interrupt that 5-year failure rate that we're seeing.
Make it last a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
Other additional questions? I'm writing these down because David's going to have to get back with you guys, so I want to make sure I write them down so I know what he's getting back to. Additional questions, comments, discussion from Mr. Brown? at all? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Resolution number 12-R-36, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, awarding a bid for the Park Lane drainage improvements and authorizing the execution of a contract agreement. Would like to have a motion?
Motion. Second.
A motion and a second. David, give us the overview, sir.
This is one of our big ticket items for 2012, stormwater improvement project in the Park Lane subdivision. This is South Dogwood, generally Elm to Rosewood. We have $250,000 budgeted. This is a project that Olson Associates is designing and helping us through, assisting us through the contract administration. John Forrester is here tonight representing Olson. The sealed bids that we received on this project were open my birthday, by the way, July 11th.
Happy birthday.
Thank you for the card, by the way. I don't think I thanked you last
Did you get the gift?
I was actually concentrating on the bids. I did not hear what Mr. Brock had to say on that. So happy birthday, Mr. Brock.
I
Continue
didn't
on, please.
thank you for the card, because you surprised me with it last time.
Yes,
I was flustered and didn't respond.
that's all right. I understand. Daniel has a way of doing that to people too.
Go ahead.
Was a very, a good bid. We had 7 firms that submitted proposals. Our low bid for the project, for the bid, was a company named Excel Excavating. The owner is Chad White, based out of Sparta, Missouri. If you'll scan the bids there in the table, you'll see they were substantially lower than the next bid. This is a small firm, young firm. They gave us a list of 4 references, all with local governments. See if I hit these right, John. City Nixa, Kimberling City, Water
Rockaway
District,
Beach,
Rockaway
Branson
Beach,
West, and Howe County Water District over in West Plains.
and they all gave glowing references for the firm. Very easy to work with. That they were very responsive. I think John spoke with one that was a similar project, and that they were working in folks' front yards, and that's going to be very important on this project, that they are responsive to our residents, sensitive to any issues that come up. And I don't recall which project that was.
That was Branson West. That was a contract amount of $316,000. And the city engineer, or city manager for the city, just went on and on about how they work for the citizens, and just really good to work with.
Thank you.
So with the staff being satisfied with the references, we are recommend that the council select the low bidder, Excel Excavating. The resolution that you have before you would award the bid to Excel Excavating, and also authorize execution of a contract that would govern the completion of the work.
Questions, comments, discussion for David? Or John, since he's here. Anything at all?
This is just for the stormwater work.
That is correct. You may recall we had about 30-some-odd thousand in materials for water and sewer relocation. So the nice thing about this bid is it fit our budget at $250,000.
Additional questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Brown? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, resolution number 12-R-37, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the purchase of police vehicles. Would like to have a motion? Motion. Second. A motion and a second. Says Major Watson, but Chief's here too, so you can tag team. Give us the overview, sir.
We'll probably want to amend this, discussion and analysis just a little bit as we go into it. I've had discussions with, our acting city administrator and city attorney, Ron Derrickson, the mayor, and, Mr. Kriske. And what we'd like to do is look into the insurance settlement we were receiving from a police car that was recently totaled right out here at Main and 60, and we're gonna get about $27,000. Well, we've got somewhat of an aging fleet with some of the higher mileage vehicles, and Major Watson, was tasked with trying to see what alternatives we could come up with rather than just buying a single new car. He checked into various things like the Missouri Highway Patrol will sell some of their cars at 3 years old and about 55,000 miles. He was able to locate a dealership that deals in used police vehicles and other things down in Veneta, Oklahoma, and really was able to negotiate a good deal. They've got two 2009 Ford Crown Victoria Police Interceptors that have relatively low mileage on them, and we can get those two vehicles for a total of $27,000. Now, he'd also looked into the possibility of trading some of our other cars in that we normally would have taken to auction for a vehicle to replace the 2002 Chevy Impala driven in the Detective Division, but Mr. Kriske, in our discussions, we thought we'd like to slow down on that, but unfortunately, we've got time to deal with those, but with the two Crown Victorias, I think they're only willing to give us until tomorrow to make a commitment, because they are low mileage, good price, and they're probably very marketable, so they're not willing to wait until the next council meeting until we have time to evaluate that. So, unless Mr. Derrickson or the mayor would like to expand on that.
I'll just say that, Jim called from the Netherlands today, and I went over this whole deal with him.
It was late at night.
Yeah, and he talked to Mark. He also called down to talk to the people in Veneta because of the way the proposal was structured. It was 3 vehicles purchased, 3 vehicles traded in, and Jim was a little concerned about the trade-in value. He wanted to explore whether or not, and it may not pan out, but wanted to explore if we thought we could get more simply going through the auction. And so he talked to them about would they be willing to extend the proposal for 3 weeks, and as the chief said, they said no, not on the Crown Vics, because those are items that they got other people interested in buying those. But they did say we will sell the Crown Vics to you for what we proposed, and we will go ahead and extend your decision on the Impala for 3 weeks, so you can do your checking and everything. And I asked Jim if he was sure about this, and he said he was, that they said they would go ahead if we wanted to trade the 3 high mileage vehicles in and buy that Impala for $9,900, they would still go ahead and take those 3 used vehicles and give us the full $9,200 credit, even though we're buying the Crown Vics first. So we would, if we go that route and you decide after running all the traps that that's a good deal, we could still basically do this same proposal even 3 weeks later and go ahead and get the Crown Vics now. And I think one of the chief's concerns was the dollars to paint the vehicles black and white, put some of the lettering and the light bars on those, and we've talked to Laura, and she believes that based upon looking at some of Mark's budget figures that we estimate that cost around $5,000 for the 2 vehicles, and that there would be a way to work that into his budget based upon how it looks at this point. Vernon?
Also, both the Crown Vics come with a 1-year, 36,000-mile warranty, even though they're used vehicles.
Which was outstanding.
And they will also deliver to our front door with no charge.
So, if I understand what Jim proposed and what Mark has explained to you, what is being asked tonight is council chooses to authorize purchasing the 2 Crown Vics, but delay any decision on the Impala for 3 weeks, so we can check and see if there's a possibility of getting a little better price through auction for the other 3 used vehicles that we're getting rid of.
One more point before I get to you, Mr. Clickenberry. This is a second purchase of vehicles. Just want everybody to understand where we are. The first purchase of vehicles were new vehicles out of St. Louis, and those were in-budget purchases along with one insurance purchase.
correct.
2 budget purchases, 1 insurance purchase. Those are a separate entity as opposed to what we have here. Anytime that we spend more than $5,000, it comes back to you regardless of whether it's insurance or regardless of whether it's a brand-new vehicle. So that's why it's coming back to you. This set here, is what they're asking for, is to take the insurance money on 1 car and get 2. Add an extra car to our matrix. Now, there's a little bit higher mileage, however, in the long run, it is a stopgap of helping us add a vehicle into our matrix for our police department, which is very much needed. However, it is before you as that. Mr. Clickenberry, I think you had the first question, sir. Please go ahead.
This one's the 2 Crown Vics, so they come in white too, so do we have that same $5,000 cost to paint, stripe, decals and everything on those 2 vehicles once we get them, so it's more like a 32?
That's what we're talking about, is that as part of our discussions, we asked Laura if there would be enough funds to paint and put the light bar on these 2 Crown Vics, and that's the $5,000.
I was talking about the other ones.
No.
That was for this.
Yes, that's for those,
So the insurance would cover basically almost even on the
purchase.
Crown Vics, we just have to,
Light bar decal paint.
lighten them up.
Yeah,
You got it.
exactly.
Light bar decal paint. Good question. Other questions? Ms. Poole, go ahead.
A company in Veneta, Oklahoma, have you checked out the company?
Major Watson and Officer Bradford went down there last Thursday, examined the vehicles, test drove them, and I'll let you answer your confidence level.
We actually met not only with the salesperson, but the owner. His name is Joe Watt. It's Joe Watt Motors down there.
Joe what?
Watt.
What?
What? W-A-T-T. It fits in there.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base.
Well, the reason I asked that question, that's low mileage for that, really low mileage.
Very.
They do they get vehicles that do have damage when they purchase them, but they do the total reconditioning themselves. That's why we took Peter Bradford down there, was to see what kind of work they do on those vehicles. They may have some minor front-end damage, they may have back-end damage, but they do the body work. It's no different than us having a vehicle damaged out here and taking it to Pennickers, and they do repair work on it. When it's done, we check it out, ensure they do the proper type of work on it, because they are emergency vehicles, and they have to be in top-notch shape out on the highway.
And one other thing, I think the purpose for these vehicles is going to be supervisor vehicles. That doesn't mean they won't potentially get in a pursuit or something like that, but generally they're going to be driven by sergeants. And the new vehicles, the 3 new ones, are going to go to the patrol officers. So they'll get a little bit lighter use than your standard patrol vehicle.
Well, I was just concerned about them being used vehicles and coming from a company like we're saying in Veneta. If the company's reputable, then I can see doing it, but I don't.
They deal with police departments countrywide. They deal with the Indian reservations out of South Dakota. They deal with, big business. I found them to be very upfront, very honest about things. There was no pressure. Come in, this is what we got. Do what you want to do to look at our product. And if they're going to offer a 1-year, 36,000-mile warranty on a used vehicle, they're going to stand behind their product.
I would agree with that.
Well, especially when you're dealing with law enforcement agencies and the federal government.
Police spec vehicles too.
Yeah.
Mr. Wilson, go ahead, sir.
Since these are going to supervisors, what would be wrong with leaving them all white to differentiate between the patrol and the supervisors and just have the police on them and the lights?
Well, and we had that discussion with the mayor and Mr. Derrickson. You got several things. One of the things about the black and white pattern we chose is they determined through a lot of different research that makes it more readily identifiable as a police car. Not that they still don't hit our police cars, even with lights and sirens activated, but for identification purposes, it is easier to identify. As you can well imagine, there's a lot of used old white Crown Vics driving around here. I saw one driving in tonight that was a used police car that still had the spotlight on it, but it wasn't in use by a law enforcement agency anymore. We want it readily identifiable because the police department and the fire department are probably the most visible representation of the city of Republic out here in our community. And we want that to be a professional image. We want it to inspire confidence that we're a squared away organization and a professional city.
Well, I saw 2 new Dodge Highway Patrol cars here recently, and both of those were white.
Well, one of the great things about the Missouri Highway Patrol is they get in cars in whatever color they want them in, and they don't put any markings on them other than their decals. If you see a group of Highway Patrol cars around, you'll see from greens to reds to whites to blues.
I couldn't even think of it.
And that's,
The way it is.
yeah.
Yeah, they do. Additionally, Mr. Wilson, it's a good question. Additionally, we talked about supervisors, but in the event that they have to get in a pursuit, or they have to have, or they're pulling people over, they need to be readily identifiable as well. Because as Chief has pointed out, I mean, Vernon's got, his own white car, I understand that, but his sergeants are gonna be on the street a little bit more. They need to be readily identifiable, number one. Number two, they need to have a LIBAR, and Ron and I were kind of discussing this as well, as for liability purposes, to make sure that they can be seen. As Chief said, yes, they will still hit our cars. However, we need to make sure that we minimize people's ability to hit our cars at the same time, but we want to make sure they're visible out there. We chuckled, but, I mean, I don't understand, I just don't, but, anyway, that's kind of some of the rationale to it.
Answers the question.
Fair enough. Additional questions, comments, discussion?
Mrs. Wolf drive one back, she drives around there.
Well, it's a Mercury, but it's close, but thankfully.
I want to Charger from St. Louis.
We may work on that later, but thankfully they're willing to deliver these to us at no charge, which saves us time and the gas and the personnel costs to go down there and pick them up, so.
Questions?
You want anymore, I was gonna make a motion though.
What's your
Well,
motion?
do we need to amend?
Well, do we amend it, or can I just make a motion of what we want to vote on?
You need to amend it.
Make a motion to amend?
Motion, are you talking about doing what is
Yeah,
being proposed?
just proposed, right.
Yeah, just motion to amend the resolution to authorize purchase of 2 Crown Vics and delay consideration of the Impala for 3 weeks.
Okay. Oh, I make a motion for that amendment.
Your second one, Reed said.
Whatever it is he said.
All right, let me make sure
It'll be to do the 2009 Crown Vics now, and to postpone the other vehicles for further consideration for approval.
Thank you.
For a cost of $27,000.
For the cost of $27,000, which is right here.
$27,100.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right. Further discussion, comments on this particular item? Anything at all?
Thanks for that.
Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Take about 2 hours to discuss it. No, we don't have anything.
Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Any abstentions?